You ever notice how the rain changes everything? It softens the world, slows it down. People move differently when it rains. Streets feel older. Memories hang heavier in the air. It's as if the rain peels back some thin layer of reality, and we all just agree not to talk about it. But I will, because I saw something I can't unsee, and I need to tell someone before it finds me again. I grew up in a town called Carrion Ridge. Small place, surrounded by thick woods and bad stories. Not bad in the boring way. I mean, truly bad. Stories that grandparents refused to speak of. Local legends that even teenagers didn't joke about. You know the kind. Carrion Ridge didn't have much, but it had a lot of rain. I never thought much of it as a kid. Just part of the mood, you know. Overcast skies, muddy trails, the smell of wet earth, always lingering. But there was one thing that didn't make sense, even back then. My father once told me, if you ever see a church that wasn't there before, run. He said it real quiet, like he wasn't just warning me, he was remembering something. I asked him what he meant, and he just shook his head. It only appears in rain, he muttered, and only for those who need something. Back then, I thought it was just an old man's rambling, but now I know better, because I saw it, and I went inside. It happened last year. I was working as a freelance photographer, mostly small gigs, weddings, portraits, landscapes. On the side, I shot abandoned buildings for fun, ruins, old schools, barns. The moodier, the better. There was something about places people had forgotten, something honest. One night in late October, I was driving through the back roads of Carrion Ridge. I was headed home from a photo shoot that had been cancelled due to weather. The rain was relentless. One of those storms where even the high beams can't cut through. That's when I saw it. Out of the corner of my eye, just past a break in the trees, stood a church. Not a little country chapel. I'm talking tall steeple, moss-covered stone, arched stained glass windows, flickering with light. It was glowing. I hit the brakes hard, tyres skidding in the mud. I pulled to the side of the road and stared through the rain-smeared windshield. I knew these roads like the back of my hand. That church wasn't there, ever. And yet, there it stood, tall, silent, waiting. Now, I know what you're thinking. Curiosity, right? Of course, I had to check it out. But that's not the reason I got out of the car. No. The reason was the music. I heard it. Not through the air, not with my ears. It was more like a memory. Organ music. Slow, heavy, echoing through my chest. It felt like it had been playing long before I noticed it, and it was calling me. I grabbed my camera, instinct I guess, and stepped into the rain. The closer I got, the more the world felt wrong. The trees leaned in, the wind stopped. Even the rain seemed quieter near the church, like it was afraid to make noise. The building was massive, far too large to have gone unnoticed in this small town. The stone looked ancient and yet new, like it had just been cleaned, maintained, but no road led to it, no path, just wet grass and cold mud. There was no sign, no cross, nothing to mark it. I stepped up to the door. My fingers trembled as I reached for the rusted handle, and the moment I touched it, the music stopped. Inside it was warm. That was the first shock, not just dry, but warm. The second shock was the people, dozens of them, sitting in pews. heads bowed. Not a single one turned to look at me. They were dressed strangely, not all in old clothes, but not modern either. A mix of decades, like they'd all stepped out of different years. A woman in a 50s floral dress, a man in a Civil War coat, a child with a 90s cartoon backpack. They were all still. And then, as I stepped forward, the doors closed behind me on their own. The sound echoed like thunder. That's when they all turned at once. Their eyes were not angry, not welcoming, just empty, like they'd been looking at the same thing for so long, they forgot how to see. Then the priest appeared. He didn't walk in. He didn't descend from the altar. He was just there, tall, pale, eyes so dark they seemed to absorb light. His robes were stitched with patterns I didn't recognize, symbols that twisted the longer I looked. He smiled, not warmly, but knowingly. "You heard the music," he said. I nodded, too afraid to speak. "You must be looking for something." I tried to explain I was just passing by, just curious. But he raised a hand. "No one sees this place by accident. Everyone who enters seeks." And then he asked the question, "What do you wish to forget, to?" I didn't answer, because I didn't understand. But deep down, I did. Because in that moment, a memory surged up, one I'd buried for years. My younger brother, a summer lake, screaming. My hands couldn't pull him out fast enough. The guilt, the weight, it hit me like a wave. Tears welled up before I could stop them. The priest watched, silent, smiling. "You may leave it here," he said, gesturing to the altar. And that's when I noticed the bowl, black stone, smooth, sitting atop the altar. Inside, it shimmered, not with water, but with something darker, something alive. I don't know why I stepped forward. Maybe the church pulled it from me. Maybe I was too tired to keep carrying it. But I reached into my coat and pulled out the photograph, the one I kept in my wallet, the last photo of my brother, and I dropped it into the bowl. The room changed. The moment the photo touched the surface, the lights dimmed, the air grew thick. I heard whispers, hundreds of them, rushing past my ears. The congregation bowed their heads again. The priest nodded. "You are free." And just like that, I was outside, standing in the rain. The church gone. Only the impression in the grass remained, like it had been there for centuries, then erased. I stood there for a long time. Eventually, I walked back to my car. When I got home, I opened my wallet. The photo was gone, but more than that, I couldn't remember his face. Not fully, just fragments. A smile, a voice, a laugh, but blurred, as if I had left it behind. Weeks passed. I tried to find the church again. Every time it rained, I drove that road. Nothing. Until one day, I got an email. No subject line, no sender, just a photo of the church, taken from the outside. Rain falling, a figure standing at the door. The figure was me, and beneath the photo, one line. "You cannot forget what is remembered." Since then, it's gotten worse. I hear the music sometimes, in my dreams, in static, in rain, and the people I saw inside, I've started seeing them on the streets, in crowds, watching, waiting. They say some places are thin, where the veil between worlds stretches too tight, where memories bleed and shadows breathe. The church is one of them. It appears for those who carry weight, those desperate to forget, those willing to trade pieces of themselves for peace. But what they don't tell you is, you don't just forget what you leave behind, you lose what comes with it. And now, I wonder what else I left in that church, and how much of me is still there, sitting in the pews, waiting for the next storm.